Today we will learn one of the most important chapter from C, that is file handling in C. So what is file handling? We know memory is volatile and its contents would be lost once the program is terminated. So if we need the same data again, it would have to be either entered through the keyboard again or would have to be regenerated programmatically. Obviously, both these operations would be tedious. If same data is to be processed again at some later stage, again we have to enter it. So, it becomes necessary to store the data in a manner that can be later retrieved and displayed either in part or in whole. This medium is usually called file on the disk. See here, this is our hard disk and this is our memory, that is RAM. A file is stored in a hard disk and within RAM some portion is allotted for our program execution. When I open the file, that file comes to RAM. Firstly, it searches on the disk file to be opened and then that file comes to RAM. FP is a pointer, contains the address of the file structure. We will discuss FP in detail later. Then it loads the file from disk into a place in memory. So firstly it searches on the disk file to be opened. Then it loads the file from the disk into a place in the memory. And FP contains the address of the file structure. Then required operation is done, either read or write onto the file or from the file, and then after closing that file, this file again loaded in hard disk. Before learning file handling, first you have to learn what is the need for a file when you can store anything in memory. Because memory, that is our RAM, is limited in computer. When a program is terminated, the entire data is lost. Storing in a file will preserve your data even if the program terminates. File stored on hard disk is safe even if PC is switched off. But memory and RAM contents are cleared when our PC is off. A file is stored on hard disk which can store gigabytes of data. If you have to enter a large number of data, it will take a lot of time to enter them all. However, if you have a file containing all those data, you can easily access the contents of the file using a few commands in C. You can easily move your data from one computer to another computer without any changes, and these are all the requirement for using file. Now, types of files. There are mainly two types of files. First is text file, second is binary files. So, text files. Text files are normal .txt files. Extension is .txt. You can easily create text file using any simple text editor like Notepad. When you open those files, you will see all the contents within the file as plain text. You can easily edit or delete the contents. They take minimum effort to maintain, are easily readable and provide the least security and takes bigger storage space. In case of binary files are mostly the .bin files in your computer. So, binary file extension is .bin. Instead of storing data in plain text like text file, they store it in the binary form, that is zeros and ones. They can hold higher amount of data, but are not readable easily like text file, and provides better security than text file because it is not in this file, the data are not in plain text. Then file operations. There are different file operations in C. We will learn each and every file operations in detail. First, opening an existing file means the file is already created. You just want to open that file. Creation of a new file. You have to create a new file. Reading from a file. Writing to that file. Moving to a specific location in a file means seeking or searching. Closing a file. These operations we have to learn later. Now, file structure. File is a structure. Structure means what? It is non-primitive data type. So, where it is defined? It is defined in our header file stdio.h, that is standard input output header file. So, when you are doing file operations, then it is necessary to include this header file stdio.h. File structure provides us the necessary information about a file. File structure that can store type of file operation, memory location of current read and next read, and other useful information. So, see this structure. This is our file structure. Now, that variable name is file. So, when I write file star fp, means fp is a pointer of file type, means fp hold the address of this structure, the starting address of this structure. So, file star fp holds an address of a file structure. When working with files, you need to declare a pointer of type file. This declaration is needed for communication between the file and the program. Opening a file. How you can open a file? How you can load a file from hard disk to memory? Firstly, it searches on the disk file to be opened. See, this is our file. We want to open the file. We want to load this file from disk to memory. Then it loads the file from the disk into a place in memory called buffer. So, what is buffer? Buffer is like an empty bucket that is filled with information, so that direct read-write operation on hard disk is avoided. It is needed to avoid direct read-write operation with hard disk, and it gives better performance then. It sets up a character pointer that points to the first character of the buffer. So, there is a pointer called buffer pointer which points the first character of the buffer, and fp is another pointer that contains address of the file structure. So, fp is another pointer that contains address of the file structure. We already learned about file structure. See here. So, in this structure there is a pointer, buffer pointer, see here, and this is our file structure, and file star fp, fp is the address, fp contains the address of the file structure. Now we will learn how to open a file. To open the file, we have called the function fopen. So, fopen is a function which is used to open a file. The syntax of fopen is fp equals to fopen, then the file name within double quotes and within double quotes mode. Fopen returns the address of the structure, file structure, which we have collected in the structure pointer called fp. So, we have to declare fp, file star fp. Fp means fp can hold address of the file structure. See how this program works. First, you have to write main, then file star fp means fp can hold address of the file structure. Now you have to call this function fopen and you want to open, say the file name is f1.txt file, it is a text file, you want to open this file. So within double quotes you have to write the file name and the mode. See here I am using smaller, means it is reading mode. Means if the file f1.txt is found, means if it is already exists, then fopen returns the address of the file structure. But if the file f1.txt is not found, then fopen returns null or 0. See here, first say f1.txt, this file is in hard disk. When you call the function fopen, then this file comes to RAM and stored in the buffer. Buffer pointer holds the first address of the buffer and fp holds the address of the file structure. If fp equals to null, means what? We can't get the file, it gives the message file not found. If a file pointer is null, what does it mean then? Means unable to open a file named f1.txt or f1.txt is not available on the disk, or there is some hard disk, in the hard disk there is some hardware problems. But if the file is already there, it is existed, then it gives the message opening. Now see the code. See here, for doing file operation you have to include stdio.h. Now this is our, no need to write this line. This line also. See here, I declare one file pointer. Okay. So fp holds the address of the file structure. Now I call the function fopen and want to open the file f1.txt, name of the file is f1.txt and I want to open it in reading mode, R mode. So if fp equals to null, means file is not there, then it gives a message error file opening, otherwise it gives the message opening. Now when we run the program, it gives the message error in file opening. Means what? Means file is not existed. Now I want to create that file. Okay. So here I want to create. Go to new and create new text message. So I give the name, what is that name? F1. I think F1. See here, it is f1.txt. Okay. So it is f1.txt. Okay. Now I create this file in the same directory. Where is our this file is saved? This file name is fopen.c. See here. Here this is the file I created f1.txt and there is another file fopen.c. See here fopen.c. This is our code block file .c file and this is the file I created. Now when I want to run the file, run this program, now it gives the message opening because this file is already there. So in this way we can use fopen. File opening modes. First R, that is read mode. It searches file. If the file exists, load it. into memory and sets up a pointer which points to the first character in it. If the file doesn't exist, it returns null. Which operations are possible? That is reading from the file. Then W, that is write mode. Searches file. If the file exists, its contents are overwritten. If the file does not exist, a new file is created. Returns null if unable to open file. Operations possible, it is writing to the file. Then A, that is append mode. Searches file. If the file exists, load it into memory and sets up a pointer which points to the first character in it. If the file doesn't exist, a new file is created. Returns null if unable to open file. Operations possible are appending new contents at the end of the file. R plus, that is read plus write mode. Searches file. If it exists, loads it into memory and sets up a pointer which points to the first character in it. If file doesn't exist, it returns null. Operations possible are reading existing contents, writing new contents, modifying existing contents of the file. W plus, that is read plus write. Searches file. If the file exists, its contents are destroyed. If the file doesn't exist, a new file is created. Returns null if unable to open file. Operations possible are writing new contents, reading them back and modifying existing contents of the file. And finally, A plus, that is read plus append. Searches file. If the file exists, load it into memory and sets up a pointer which points to the first character in it. If the file doesn't exist, a new file is created. Return nulls if unable to open file. Operations possible are reading existing contents, appending new contents to the end of the file. It cannot modify existing contents. Closing of a file. The file, both text and binary, should be closed after reading or writing. Means after file operation, you have to close the file. Closing a file is performed by calling the function fclose. Unclosed files occupy memory and your PC hangs when on low memory. So you have to close the file. So what is the syntax? First write fclose, then within bracket fp, where fp is a file pointer associated with the file which you want to close. When we close the file using fclose, then following operations would be performed. First is fclose fp closes the file to release the memory used in opening a file. When you close your file by fclose, then memory will be released. The characters in the buffer would be written to the file on the disk. Closing a file clears buffer contents from RAM or memory. So see here, at the end of file, a character would get written. That is, at the end of file, a character would get written. We will learn this thing in detail later. So now our file is here, okay, in the buffer. Now when we close by fclose, then the buffer would be eliminated from the memory and it frees the link used by the particular file and the associated buffers so that these are available for other files. These are your homework. Try to solve this problem and answer me in the comment section what is the correct option. Pause this video, try to solve this problem and answer me in the comment section what is the correct option. I am waiting for your reply. For getting more and more updates, please subscribe my channel. That's all for today. Thank you.